everyone. I'm Karen Combs. This is Flosstube 29 and it is March 24th, 2024. And I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. This is a Flosstube about stitching. You will find other videos on my channel about quilting and tutorials about quilting, but this one is about stitching. So let's get right to it. It's been about 2.5 weeks, maybe almost 3, since I did my last Flosstube. I was going to do one last week, but it's just been busy. So today we're having some work done at the house, and I thought, I think it'll be quiet enough because they're in a different part of the house that I can be in my sewing room and come to you. And my husband, I told him I was going to tape because you're going to tape today. I said, yeah, I'll try. So hopefully there's not too much background noise. But we've got some questions. I've got some haul to show you. A little bit has come in from market. And I've got nice progress on some things I've been working on. And a couple of new starts, which I wasn't going to do more new starts, but I did. So there you go. So I had some questions. One of them was how, and I didn't write down who it was from. I apologize. The question was, last video, how often do I change colors? And that depends. I don't always change colors. I don't look at each project and go, what can I change? Usually as it comes up and I need to make changes. This was one example, my Live on Little by Plum Street. I did some changes. I did darken, make sure you can see, darken the church because the colors that were called for ghosted out. So sometimes I'll change colors for that reason because it didn't show up. The sailboat, I mentioned this when I showed this last time. I did change the colors of the sailboat to reflect my father's sailboat. And I changed the color of the birds because, again, they ghosted out, so I wanted them to show up a little more. And I darkened the star and put some transparency into it, which is some things, a class I taught for years to quilters about transparency. So can I back up and show this to you? There we go. So there's several changes on that particular cross-stitch piece because of either something not showing up or I wanted to personalize it. So that's one reason I'll change color, especially if something isn't showing up well. I did change the color of the linen, and I think we do that more. I had seen Sherry Colorado Cross Stitch do Quaker Dwelling on a dark linen, and so I'm just peeking around to make sure you can see. There we go. So I did change the linen on this one, inspired by Sherry. So sometimes I change color because of an inspiration. I've seen somebody do it and it's like, oh, I like that. Or sometimes maybe to show up better on the linen or to personalize. So those are some of the reasons I have changed my colors, but I think that's totally personal choice. And on reproduction samplers, again, if you're doing a direct reproduction, then you'd want to stay exactly with the reproduction. Sometimes I'll change color there because I'm doing more of a, I want to say an adaptation, reproduction / adaptation. That again is going to be personal choice, but I would say most of the time I don't think I do change, but maybe I change more than I realize. So that's just an answer that went all the way around. So another question I had is about silk. The question was, is silk worth it? And that's an interesting question. When I return to cross stitch, and for those of you that are new, if you watch my first video, the first Flosstube, I'll explain my stitching journey, but I started stitching decades ago and then transitioned over to quilt making and teaching quilting and writing books about it. And I had to let my stitching kind of lapse because I was busy, too busy to do any stitching, and returned to stitching. Actually picked up some embroidery in 2015 to stitch while I was on the road, and then did some black work, which we'll talk about in a minute, in 2020, and then came back to cross stitch a couple years ago after many decades of being away. Thrilled with all of the new things in our cross stitch community. But the question is, silk worth it? That will be a personal choice. When I return to cross stitch, I started doing some DMC and hand dyed because I love the effect of hand dyed, whether it's fabric, linen, yarn, floss. I just love how it looks. And no, I didn't pull that out. So the first couple I did were DMC and hand dyed, but I kept hearing about silk and seeing different pieces on silk, and I wanted to try it. So this was one of the first pieces I did in silk, and I bought the silk conversion from Colorado Cross Stitch. So this is done with MPI. And for me, I knew this project, I mean, that house is gorgeous. The house took forever, but it's gorgeous. And I knew this project was going to be a project that would take a while, and I thought this is a good one to do silk with because I love the sheen of silk. The old samplers that were done in silk are still around. They just have a beautiful look to them, and I wanted to try it. And I did enjoy how it feels when it goes through your fingers when you're stitching. I really do like that. This was another one I did in silk, and this is Stars by the Drawn Thread, and the Attic, Jean at the Attic, had put together a silk pack for this. So I did order the silks, and this was done on 32 count Lugana Stormy Skies, and it's done with mostly dinky dyes. I think there's one other one that, but I did buy the silks and the pack from the Attic. So one more, let me show you. I think if you want to try silk, the way I did it is something I knew that was going to take a while. That's what I wanted to work with. Or you could try silk with, say, a Bristol sampler or something with just one color, something small, just to give it a try. So that's another option. This is Sarah Milthrop, which is also done in silk. And I did get this at the Attic at Sampler Symposium in 2023, but it is on general release now. And in our kit, we did receive the silks 103s, which I have in a little antique cabinet. So here's the drawer. And this is where I'm at with Sarah. And I decided the linen, called for linen, is Tabby Cat Creme Brulee. I decided to do 46 count Thornfield. So here it is. I love the sheen of the linen, of the silk on the linen. I just love the look of it. I love the feel of it, but I can't. Silk is more expensive, so I can't do every project in silk. So I kind of save my silk purchases for those projects that maybe are a little more special to me, or perhaps I know I'm going to be working on for a while. So that's kind of how I do it. But again, that is going to be a personal choice that you can make, only you can make. But if you decide just to do DMC or the hand-dyed, those are gorgeous as well. So no matter what you decide, it's going to be beautiful. So I thought that was a good question. There was one other question about specialty stitches. Can you do it on Lugana? And we talked about that last video, and I had someone in the comments say actually the specialty stitches for them, it's easier to do than on linen or Aida. So they really like doing specialty stitches on Lugana. So I thought that was an excellent comment to share with you. Just checking my notes here. Becky is a new stitcher, and she had a question, which I thought was an interesting question. What is my stitching schedule? Well, I try to stitch every day. I don't necessarily get to every day, but I try to every day do something, even if it's just for a few minutes. Normally, and again, this is going to depend on your work schedule, your family schedule. I can only share what mine is, and as I mentioned, for years I couldn't stitch because I was working at least 10, sometimes 12, sometimes 14 hours a day with my teaching and traveling and writing and designing, and there was just no time. And then when COVID happened, I pivoted to online teaching with Quilt Guilds, which freed up some time because I wasn't spending days traveling. So that's when I put in my garden and I started stitching again, but still working. And I'm still doing quilting classes virtually, but doing less, so I have a little bit more time to spend stitching. So my normal day, and again, it'll depend on the days, because like on Sunday, we have church Sunday morning. Sometimes we have functions in the afternoon. We have church in the evening. So Sunday's pretty much, if I stitch, it'll be Sunday afternoon, and that's when I usually catch up on my floss tubes. But my normal schedule, if I don't have to do errands, is in the morning. I do paperwork, do cleaning, working in the garden, do things like that. And I try to stitch some in the afternoon and some after dinner. So sometimes I don't get to stitch till after dinner, sometimes not at all. Very rarely do I get to stitch all day. And does anybody ever get to do that? Maybe at retreats, but then we're chatting, so we don't do it then either. But that's normally my stitching schedule. And I just kind of thinking of something I heard someone else mention. I usually do the work first before I get to do the fun stuff. And I remember my grandmother, when I would be spending time with her, she taught me that. We would get up in the morning, we would clean up the kitchen, we would do housework, and after all our work was done, that's when we could sit down and sit on the front porch or go for a walk or go to the park. And so I guess that's ingrained in me. Work first and then the fun stuff. So usually work is all first and then stitching in the afternoon or evening. I do try to save some of the harder, I shouldn't say harder, the higher count linen for the daytime in the afternoon when the light's better. So that was a good question. I don't know what I would do if I had all day long from morning to night to stitch. I'd probably keep thinking of other things I needed to do and keep hopping up and do them. Probably. So let me show you my book of days. That kind of goes on to something someone mentioned, but here's the book of days and here's my March. And our 46th anniversary was last week. So I put that in there. So here's my calendar. I do keep track of the different guilds that I belong to and when I start things and what I work on and any special things that happen. I think I put in here when I planted the garden, which in the opening photos, you'll see a picture of my sugar snap peas are about that tall and the carrots are starting to come up, but that's all I've planted right now. And Jude mentioned that probably because I was flipping in one of the floss tubes, I was flipping to my page of whips and looking at what was what, you know, what I stitched on, what was the thread. And because I do keep track of that. And she said, and I thought this was a good comment too, she writes on her chart. She'll write down the fabric she used, the colors she used, the count she used, all of that on the chart. So I thought that's another good idea. If you don't have a journal or don't like keeping one, that's an excellent way to keep track of things. So appreciate Jude mentioning that. Okay, so I'm just looking, because some of the things I'm going to show you are going to tie into, I've got so much stuff here. I know you can't see it, but I don't even know where to put anything. So we did have a question, and I think I'll show that. I think I'll show some of the whips and then come back to these questions because they tie into that. I think it was Barbara asked about the basket I had behind me in the last two videos, and I put one of the finished charts there today for you to see, but this basket that was behind me is something I found at a local antique shop. It's an egg basket. I can't see what you're seeing. There we go. And look at the woven handle. It is in beautiful shape. It's old. And when I went in there, I was not going to buy another basket. And then I saw this with the woven handle, and I thought, okay, that's going home with me. So I thought you would like to see it. It's in beautiful shape. Let me put that down. I did want to make sure to show that because I said I'd show it last time and totally forgot. So let me show you what I've been working on, and that will kind of tie into a couple other questions. Nope, I'm going to change my mind because I just filmed another video that we're going to insert right here, and then we'll go to whips. Virginia asked if I could talk a little bit about blackwork, which I showed in the last video or two, some blackwork that I did. And I am looking for some blackwork I did years ago that had gold work in it, and I can't find it. And I've looked everywhere. I have one more closet to check, some boxes. Maybe it's there, but I have a feeling it got lost along the way in different moves. But I've been doing blackwork for a long time, but it's been a long time since I've done it, and I picked it back up in 2020. So Virginia had a little, had some questions about blackwork, so I did a little video that I'm going to insert here, and then we'll come back. So I'm going to say, go to see the blackwork right now, and we'll be back in just a minute. Virginia had asked a question about blackwork, and I've shown this before. This is a stitch along with Peppermint Purple. She has an Etsy shop, and she also has a group on Facebook. And I did this in 2020, and I did it on, I think, 18 count Ada. Let me just show you Peppermint Purple. This is one of the patterns that I purchased from her Etsy store, Celtic Knots. I haven't started on it, but she does have a Facebook group. She does run a stitch along. I don't know if it's too late to join for this year, but this was part of the 2020 stitch along, and each week we had a new design. And so Virginia was asking about it, and I thought I'd spend just a couple of minutes because blackwork is something that has intrigued me literally for 50 years. I haven't done much, but it has intrigued me. This was one of the first books that I purchased, and it is 1976. Designs for Holbein Embroidery. Sometimes blackwork is also called Holbein. And this one, I'm just going to go through it real quick. Probably can find it on the secondary market, but it's got wonderful stitch designs. This one is adapted from 16th century. I think it's showing you where to start. I haven't looked at this in a while, but it's got great diagrams. And it does have some patterns in it. And it has some history as well. Lots of information. Here is, let me go to the title page. Here we go. That's the title page. So you might be able to find it on the secondary market. But I do have some newer books that I can recommend. This one is Blackwork by Brenda. Let me pull it down so you can see it. And it also has patterns. I bought it because I must have seen it in a bookstore. I loved these lavender bags with the Blackwork. But it also has patterns, information, historical information. And this one is newer. Let me see. There's the title. And copyright 2000. So there's that one. This one I picked up on secondary market. Traditional Blackwork Samplers by Lesley Wilkins. By Search Press Needle Crafts. And this one, look at the copyright on this. 2009. But you can see it talks about materials, designs, using the charts, getting started, and I'll just flip through real quick. Has some information, using the charts, how to start, double running stitch, back stitch. These, I think these are done on Ada. There's some charts, lots of beautiful charts. So that's a good one. And then I picked this up at a needlework store. Everything Blackwork is New Again by Julia K.H. Snyder. This one I love because let me get to one that's a little bigger. It's got all kinds of designs, but it shows you the direction to stitch. And it's got 125, no, 130. Copyright 2011. So it's a wonderful book. So those are some of the Blackwork designs I have. As far as what to stitch on, let me go back to this one. This one I did on Ada, 18 count. And then I totally had forgotten about this next one that it looks like it's on Lugana. And I'm going to show it to you, but do not do what I did. Because this I did before I really started paying attention to, I won't say the proper way to stitch, but I was reverting back to what I knew back in the 70s. And oh, you're going to laugh. We used to put tape on the edges of our fabric. Don't do that. I'm going to have to take this off. But I just wanted to show you, this is one of the purchase patterns that Peppermint Purple has. But this is on, actually I'm trying to get where you can't see the tape because I'm so embarrassed about it. I need to take it off and serge the edges. But this is on Lugana. And the question Virginia had, is one better than the other? Is Lugana better? Is it Ada better? I think it depends on what you prefer to work on. I do like the delicate look on the Lugana. It'd probably be similar on linen. This might be linen. I can't remember where I bought it. I'm just going to come up real close. Yeah, it's got to be even weave. But you can see it's got a delicate look, but it's still a nice look on Ada. So it's your choice. Either one. You can see this is a little smaller. This is 18 count. That must be 25, 28. I haven't counted it. I totally forgot I even had this. So I'm going to have to pull it back out. And the other question that Virginia have is, what kind of stitch do you use? And I will put some links to stitches that I just wanted to show you. Let me just kind of cover up a back stitch. You just heard the spring of my camera. Actually, I need to get some paper. All right. So there's a couple of ways you can do black work. It's done with either a back stitch or a Holbein stitch. And I'm going to see if I can zoom up a little closer. I'm not very organized this morning. I apologize. We've got some workers at the house, and I thought, well, while they're working and busy, I can try to film this. So the back stitch, which is what I believe I did on mine, is you come up, here's one, you come up and you go this way. Then you come back around, and here's two. So you come up here, now you're going to tie into the first one, and then you come back here to three. So you're going backwards while your stitch is going this way, which is kind of interesting. But that is a back stitch. And I'm going to put a link to an article I found that has some illustrations. But there's also the Holbein stitch, which is also a double running stitch, which would give you more of the effect that you see on some of our historical samplers that are reversible, meaning the front and the back look the same. So on a Holbein stitch, you're going to come up, let me just back up. Notice on this one, you're working from left to right, but you're actually stitching this way. This one, you're going toward the left. So you're going to come up and go down in the next one. And this is assuming you're doing eta or over 1. If you were doing over 2, you'd go across 2 stitches, of course. Go down, skip, come up, go down, skip, come up, go down, skip, thread, come up, go down. So that's the first pass. Now the second pass is you're going to come up, and now this was dried out, so I'll have to come up. So you're going to come up and go the opposite way. So there's the 5th stitch. Come up, go the opposite way. There's the 6th stitch. Come up, go down, there's the 7th stitch. So when it's all filled in, it will look the same on the front as the back. So you have a couple of choices on the front. The back stitch or the Holbein stitch will look the same, but it's on the back. It will look different. So I did mine. Just pull it, and again, this, like I said, this was, I hadn't been stitching for many years, returned back to it, did some embroidery in 2015, and then picked up this black work, started December 2019, and worked on this all 2020. So I'm pretty sure I did back stitch. I don't think I did Holbein. Am I going to show you the back? Yeah. So it's a little messy. If I did Holbein, it would be less messy. But my first return back after decades, so I was pleased how it looked on the front. For this one, sure I did back stitch. Yeah, a little more delicate looking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did back stitch on that one too. But that's just some information, and I will put links to, let me get where you can see, to this information about the back stitch and Holbein stitches, just so you can look at it at your leisure, but either is fine. If I was starting over again now, I would probably be doing Holbein, but I'm satisfied with how it looks with back stitch, so it's fine. I love the look of Blackwork, as you can tell, since I bought the first book 50 years ago. So I do love Blackwork. So that's a little tutorial about Blackwork, and now we'll return back to Flosstube. Hello. This is the whip I'm going to show, so I put it there so I would know which part of the video to put where when I put them together. I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial about Blackwork, and I want to show you some whips, and when I'm showing them, I will be talking a little bit about some of the questions that were asked. Then I do have some new starts and a little bit of haul. So I pulled out Houses of Hawk Run Hollow. I've worked on, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 things since we last chatted. So I pulled out Houses of Hawk Run Hollow, which I've been working on for a while. And I did, well, I'll show you what I did, and then we'll talk about the floss. So this is on, I believe this is on 36 count Platinum by Lakeside. I'll have to look. But I worked on house 4. And I got it almost done. I've got a couple of birds and some leaves to do. So here are the houses so far. And I did make some changes on house 4. Because look at I'm going to show you the cover photo. Look at how dark it is. But the thread, or the floss that's called for, and I am using the called for DMC, is this beautiful kind of pumpkin color. I guess I need to use both hands here. But I liked that dark look of the photo. So what I did is I made a couple of changes. I changed the window and the door color to darken it. And I changed, I'm just looking. I also added window panes to the window. I don't think I changed any of the bottom. I think the only change I made was the window color and the window panes. I believe the outline is still the same, because the window panes were more green and the door was more green, and I didn't like that. So I decided to changed it to 829 and added the window panes. And I loved how it turned out. And you'll notice I did the window panes in a couple of styles. I did more window panes here, and here I just did kind of a sashing. Now I did that on purpose because sometimes older houses were added on to, and I thought, you know, if they added on, maybe they added on and didn't put the big fancy windows in the addition. So I just did that just for fun. But those were the changes that I made here. I'm just going to check real quick. The linen, I'm loving working on this linen. It is 40 count platinum, and then the called for DMC, other than the change that I made. And one of the questions that we had, which kind of goes into it. So you saw me working on this for a while, and I had all the floss on a card like this. I actually had 2 or 3 cards. And the problem was there are so many colors. I didn't have them in numerical order. I could never find them what I wanted. So I took the time and put all of my flosses on floss drops, which you've seen these before. These I purchased on Amazon. Someone had asked about punching a hole here. Those already came pre-punched. You just popped a little section out. So I purchased those on Amazon, and the link is in the last video. But I took the time to take them all off. They were on, some were on bobbins, some were in bags, some of them, you know, were on this. And I put them, here's the number, in order. So now I can find it. It's much easier instead of sorting through. I should have done that at the first, but I didn't. But I did want to show you one thing that happened, and I did get this question about floss bobbins, and we talked about that last time. You know, do you like floss drops? Do you like bobbins? And by bobbins, I mean things like this. And that, again, is going to be your personal choice, and storage, what kind of storage system that you have. So some of my DMC were on bobbins, but I put them all on these cards. And the problem I ran into, where is it? Here's one. You see the kinks? I had kinks, almost like if you have curly hair and you tie it up when it's wet, and when you undo it, it's all kinky. There's several. There's one right there. There were kinks in the floss, which when I started to stitch with it, I went, ooh, I don't like this. So let me show you the solution. And I did have a question a few floss tubes ago about beeswax. Do I use it? And I use it sometimes, but I did mention that if you use it, make sure you're getting a thin coat, no crumbs or anything like that. So Laura and Brenda of Laura and Brenda, or Brenda and the Serial Starter. Anyway, Brenda mentioned some beeswax she found on Amazon, and my beeswax that I have is starting to get old. So I did purchase some of this. I'll put the link in the video, but this is from Amazon. And you do want to keep your beeswax in something so it doesn't dry out. So they found these little tins, and if you have Altoid tins, you can use that, but they had these little tins that had like simplicity patterns on them. So I found some on Amazon. So there's where my beeswax is. So thank you to Brenda and Laura for mentioning that, because my beeswax is old. It's getting crumbly. It's a pleasure to have nice beeswax. So by using beeswax on the floss that's kind of kinky from being wrapped around a bobbin, then you can run it against the beeswax and it will stay nice and smooth then. So I did want to mention that. So I did work on several days and got house 4 almost done. So pretty close, not much left on that one. All right, let me set this down. Hopefully I don't need that. I also worked on Shores of Hawk Run Hollow, which is why I pulled out houses again, because I was enjoying my Hawk Run. So I wanted to go ahead and keep going. But what I got done on Shores is I got the first one done. I'm working on the second, and I got more of the boxes outlined. Ooh, there's a big one. Because I think when I get the second one done, I might go to the middle, I think. And you'll notice that the outlines look funny. Well, I shared this a couple times ago. I am doing one leg of the cross, and then every 10, I'll do both legs of the cross. So that way I can count it. So then I can go back and finish the cross just whenever. So there that is, and it is done on, I started this in February, so I think it's under my starts. It is. I started it in February, and it's 40 count Lakeside Sand Dune because I could not find the called for antique gold, I think is what it's called for. And a lot of people are using ale, and I can't remember who makes that color, but that was out too. So I looked in my stash, and I actually had Sand Dune. So I think that looks really nice, and that is using the called for DMC, and I have those on these kind of floss drops, putting the numbers on the back. So it's got a bunch of colors. So worked on that since I saw you last. And also, I'm just going to check my notes to make sure. I cover everything. Of course, okay. I say, of course, I can't reach what I just dropped on the floor, but I'll pull that out. I did do quite a bit more work on Antal Uffendal. And this is on 40 count Sleeping Bear by Linen by Needle and Flax. And I'm using the Vicki Clayton silk pack for that. So I know I've shown this bobbin case before. These are what I'm working on. And I did have a question about, am I concerned about these stickers coming off? As I'm putting them back in their bobbin holder, I'm making sure to keep the label on. And I had another question about how am I going to store these when I'm finished. I haven't quite decided. I have a couple little antique chests, and I might put them in there. I guess it will also depend on how much I have left. If they're almost gone or if I have some left. Another option would be to put them in floss away bags. So that's another option. So I haven't quite decided because right now they're all living in their bobbin box. But here is Antal. And you'll have to excuse the hanging threads because I'm working on the border and I didn't want to stop. And then the thread that is over here, there are 3 pages that come together and I need to make a working copy and then tape them together so I can see. So I kind of stopped there, but I have I'm going to just bring it up. I have the border. This is a big one. I have the border all the way around, and then I'm working on the top row. Now you can see, let me back up just a little bit. So there it is, and this is done, as I mentioned, with the Vicki Clayton silk. I just love this sampler. Love it. I didn't think I would love it as much as I do. And let me go back. Look at the basket. Look at how gorgeous that basket is. It's beautiful. So let me lay these silks down so they don't go all over, which they are. Hold one moment, please, as I set these down. So I did work on that quite a bit. I think these are all starts. I had more starts than I intended to, but that's just the way it happens. So, all right. I belong to a Facebook group that has, is it Our Sampler Years? I think it is. That has Mondays with Mary. And so on Monday nights, Christine does, I think it's Krista, does stitching. And she's working on a Mary. And I can't remember which one she's working on. But we can put questions or comments in the chat, and it's just a fun hour to spend listening about stitching, watching stitching. And I've been working on Anne Uffendell while that's going on. Well, I decided I needed to start a Mary. And one thing I did, never do this, is I went to 123 Stitch to look at all the Mary samplers. But I resisted the temptation to purchase one because as I looked at all the Mary samplers, and I said, don't ever do this because it's such a temptation just to hit that add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. But as I was looking through all of the Marys, I realized I have a couple of Marys in my charts. They just reminded me of that. So I decided to start a Mary that I will work on during Mondays with Mary. And it's one I've had kitted for a long time. There's some crinkling, apologize. There we go. It is Mary Ann Cup, 1839. And I know many of you probably have this, have the chart, have it kitted, may have even started it. It is such a beautiful chart. It's a beautiful chart. It's a beautiful, beautiful design. Here are my colors. Look at the colors. Let me wind them up. Oh, that's so pretty. Look at the colors. Ah, they are stunning. And I'm using the called for. It's a combination of Classic Colorwork Weeks and Gentle Arts, and one DMC. And I did want to mention Terry posted something that she uses greeting cards to make her floss drops. And I thought, well, that's very clever because I have a whole box of greeting cards and I could make floss drops out of them. Then I can remember the cards instead of them just being in a box. So I thought that was an excellent idea. But here are the flosses, and this is what I've got done so far. And this is done on, I'm using the called for hand dyes and DMC. This is a linen I haven't tried before. It's by Under the Sea. It's 36 count amaryllis. And I purchased this when I was at Cecilia's last summer. And I love what, you know, I showed her the chart. So they cut the linen exactly to size and put it in the bag with the name and the size it was. I love that because now she serged, she cut it, she serged it. I have it exactly as I need it. Okay, hold on. I've got a couple hanging threads, and I intended to get the bird done before I showed it to you, and I didn't. I started in the upper left corner, and it's the bird here that I've got part of it done, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. If I waited till every little thing was done, you'd never see a floss tube, so I just decided to go for it. Here it is. Look at the colors. It's springtime here in Tennessee. We've got some of the trees starting to flower. We've got the daffodils up, and this just reminded me of what I'm seeing outside. I love this. Love the color, that little motif, the house. It's just such a beautiful sampler. So that's my Mary that I'll be working on. Mary Ann Cup 1839 by Brenda Juve. All right, let me move this out of the way. I've got a couple of more. So that's a new start for me. So since February, I've got Shores of Hawk Run Hollow, that's a new start, and Uffendell, that's a new start. Mary Ann Cup, that's a new start. Not done. I'm not done showing you. All right, this, I'm not really counting as a start because there's a stitch along. I think Susie Q, Running with Scissors, and Jody's Stitching Adventure are doing a stitch along, so it's in June. But I started playing with linen and I did just a little start on this. And what I'm talking about is GH1857. So I probably won't work much on this till we get closer to June. But I started playing with linen. Let me show you the colors. And I did get a silk pack for this. And as I've shown you before, I got it in the bob and then put the silk conversion here. But there's the colors. There's some multiples of colors. Look at the colors. This is a big sampler. I didn't realize it was as big as it is. So I started, because there's the colors. I started with this linen, then I changed it. I started with 46 count oatmeal by Fiber on a Whim, which I love the linen. I love it. But I started it, you can see there's my teeny little start, and I wasn't loving how the border color, and there's a lot of that, I didn't love how it looked on there. So I will take that out and use this gorgeous linen for something else. So I started digging around in my linen, and this is what I decided to use instead. There's my book, because I don't remember. This is 46 count Old Mushroom by XJU. And the reason I'm doing 46 is it's a big sampler, and I thought doing it in a 46, it'll be a little smaller. I'm just looking at the book here it was done on 32 count, and it was 19 by 18. So I thought on 46 it would be a little smaller. Here's what it's going to look like. Look at that house. Look at the colors. And the antique is just stunning. Again, I love that house. I should have started at the bottom so I could do the house. I don't know why I didn't. But let me show you my little start, and then I'm going to put it away until we're closer to June. But this is so pretty. So here's the linen. So just a little bit of modeling. So there's my little start. And I am pleased with the linen. Did I put down the size? On 40 count, and I didn't write in my notes if this was going to be must be the linen size. All right, this is the other reason I went to 46 count. Because on a 40 count, I needed to cut my linen, or I needed a piece of linen that was 28 by 22 and a half. So it's bigger than a fat quarter. So if I did, or is it bigger? I'm looking at my notes, and I don't remember if that's the design size, but I needed a fat half if I was doing 40 count. If I was doing 46 count, I could make it work with a fat quarter, with a smaller edge. Not a smaller border, but a smaller edge. Anyway, I have my notes here, so I'm going to double check that before I get further, but that was the other reason that I went to a smaller linen. Plus, I just love the look on those higher counts linens. And my other start, and I have had this kitted for a while, you've seen it, and Kim, Contented Stitcher Kim, you're to blame for this. So she showed this, and then I mentioned on one of my floss tubes, I had it, and she's been commenting, you need to start this, you need to start this. So I started it. It is needlework panel of a fruit tree with two animals by the Scarlet Letter. And the DMC, the colors are gorgeous. And look at the colors. This is the color I just pulled last night to stitch. And I did them on the floss drops. I did take a picture on my copy scanner and reduced it so I could have a picture there. But these are the colors. They are just stunning, stunning, stunning. So I just have the teeniest little start. And this is circa 1690. So, I don't know. Do you do this? Do you think about what project bag you're going to put a project in? I sometimes do and coordinate everything. And then sometimes it's just in a bag, a plastic bag. So it just depends. But I had this bag from the Wishing Thorn, which is a William Morris print. And I just thought those colors are so beautiful, just like this is. So that's the project bag. And like I said, I just have the teeniest start. I'm starting down here in the bottom right corner because the animal, I guess that's, well, two animals, whatever those are. Looks like one has one corner of it in its mouth. Well, we'll just pretend they're playing, not eating each other. But that's over one. So I'll probably work on that first, but just the teeniest start, and I'm not taking it out of the stand because I'm going to come back to this when we're finished. And I'm using my House of the Seven Gables because it's from 1600s. That house, what was it, 1640, that house? 1620, I don't remember. But there, I've just got the teeniest start, and these will be in one. I've just got a little bit there. But this linen is, because I think it's full coverage. So, is it 36 count? I've got the tag here somewhere. I haven't even written down on my book yet. I started 36 count winter moon. So I need to put that on my book. So Kim, yes, it is started, the teeniest little start. All right, so what we've got left, I've got a few things that came in from Nashville, the needle market, and a few things that I purchased outside of that have come in. I actually have some things that I thought would be in Saturday, and they aren't, so I'll show you the next time. But I did some pre-orders from some different shops, and I did get the 2024 Santa from Prairie Schooler. Isn't that cute? So I did get that. And then Shakespeare's Peddler, which is also Kitten Stitcher, which is also Teresa, did a collaboration with Plum Street. And you've probably seen this. This is stars. This is the Plum Street chart. Stars. And then here's the Shakespeare's Peddler and stripes. So you can do these as 3 little pillows. I know some people have talked about doing them together. I haven't made it that far yet. I did get the charts. So I haven't kitted them up, but I do have the charts now. And then I wanted everything from Stacy Nash this time, and I didn't do it. I just purchased, I think, just this one, but I put the other things in my wish list so I don't forget. This is the Federal Sampler and Sewing Bag by Stacy Nash. So I just have the charts. I haven't kitted. That's what it looks like. Oh, that's pretty. I love a good house. I love houses. Stitching them, as you can see. So many of my things have houses. And then this was, I think, an exclusive for a while. And it's general release now. It's Samplers Not Forgotten, Peace on Earth. So again, I don't have anything kitted. I'm just purchased it. This one's 243 by 222, calling for 36 count with weeks. which I haven't pulled any linen yet, but I just love that. And then I did order the new colors of Classic Colorworks. I do have the new colors of Weeks and Gentle Arts, but they haven't come in yet. They should have been here Saturday. And instead of being delivered to our house Saturday, they got sent back to Nashville. I don't know, our mail delivery's crazy. So maybe today, or they might take a trip to Memphis and then come here. I don't know. But these are the new colors of Classic Colorworks: Weather Vane, London Fog, and Misty Mauve. Let me put them up together so you can see. There they are. And it came with this nice little chart from Little House. Yeah, let me hold it up there so you can see. So those are the new colors of Classic Colorworks. I don't know how many of the new colors there are in Weeks and Gentle Arts. I can't remember, but I did order them. And then from Cross Stitch Antiques, I ordered 2 booklets. This is Emmeline Hotchkiss, 1846. This is a Canadian sampler. Again, it's got a great house on it. And nice border, some baskets. I just really like this. So let me back up so you can see it. And let me come forward. So that one, 8, it's got 8 DMC. Also, you could do Gentle Art or Classic Colorworks or MPI or 103. It's got all the colors down here, so depending on what you want to do. But it's got 8 colors. That might be one if you're thinking of trying silk, doing the 103 with that. So I did order that, and this one on 36 count, it was done on Eureka, is 261 by 187. So I haven't pulled linen from it. The antique is 17.5 by 14.5 on 32 count. So I did order that, and I got one other from Cross Stitch Antiques. This was a booklet. So that's the cover of the booklet. This is what was inside. And there's 15 pages from the booklet. So I'll just flip through real quick. You get all of these different motifs and alphabets. And it was from Prince Albert's Exhibition 1851 Pattern Album. And it's also a source of Bristol Orphanage sampler motifs. So I just thought that's going to be an excellent reference to have. So I did get that. A couple other things. I got this one in stages. I ordered the American Welcome by Plum Street, which was an exclusive, but now it is available. I think it was at the Amana retreat that it was an exclusive. And the linen that was used, I did order this from Farm Girl Dry Goods. The linen is, here it is, Old Amana, 36 count. I'm going to take it out of the package so you can see it. And let me show you. This took me a little bit to kit because it has DMC and color and cotton. So I ordered the linen from Farm Girl Dry Goods and then ordered the color and cotton from Color and Cotton, and then also ordered the chart. Can't remember who I got the chart from. So several different vendors. Let me hold this up to get this. But there is a conversion if you don't want to use the color and cotton. There is a conversion to DMC. But I haven't used the color and cotton thread before. And I went on their website to see if they had a pack, and the packs were sold out, but they did have a page that listed just what you needed, just the colors you needed for the chart. So here they are. There's Winterberry, Spring Moss, Pine Needles, Pearl White, Hunter, these are all the color and cotton, Holly, Daydream, Cozy Sweater, Black Oak, and then these DMCs, which you can say I don't have on floss drops yet. I just wanted to put everything all together. I don't know when I'll start this, but now I have everything. And let me show you, here's Vintage Country Mocha, which is always a good to hold something up against. Here's Old Amana next to Vintage Country Mocha. You can see Old Amana is a little bit more golden, kind of a golden greenish, but beautiful linen. I can't wait to start that. And ordered this a little while ago, and it came in. I've never used this before, so I'm anxious to use this. This is Cedar River linen. And I ordered 3 colors, and they were beautifully packaged. Beautifully packaged. I've already taken them out of the packaging, but I ordered 3 colors. This is 40 count Spindrift, and it is just a beautiful, I think of cream. Oh, it's hard to describe. It is so pretty. It's not white, it's cream. It looks like the color of dairy cream with just a little bit of the butter floating in it, if you've ever made butter. So that's 40 count Spindrift. That's gonna be a perfect sampler color. And then this is, I got 36 Albarium. I'm gonna hold that up. And I'm gonna put it against the Vintage Country Mocha. You can see it's lighter. Now I'm gonna put it up against the Spindrift. So here's Spindrift, here's Albarium. I hope that noise isn't too much. Not working where I can hear them, sorry. And then one more. I can't say this. I can't say that. I'll butcher it. But 36 count, which is this beautiful gray, green, it's kind of a little bit of blue, gray in there. I'm not sure what I'm going to use this for, but it is stunning. Stunning. I can't wait to figure out where I'm going to use that. One more thing I purchased, and you watch, I'll finish this and the mail will come. But I'll save those things that are coming in the mail today for next time. The exemplary shop on Etsy was closed, and I put in a notification to be told when it was open again. It came open, and I thought, I'm going to order one of their kits. I ordered, was it Laura Standish? I think it was Laura Standish. I've ordered a couple of kits from them, but sometimes their shops close, so I grabbed it. Plus, Etsy was having a coupon, 20% off, that Etsy paid for, no matter what shop you purchase from. So that, ooh, I can use that Etsy coupon. And the shop's open, so I ordered Frances Burwell. And this is an 1760 sampler. Again, it's got a big house. I don't know when I'll start this, because I do have Laura Standish to work on and Dorcas Hayes to work on, but I wanted to get the kit, and the exemplary kits are beautiful. It comes with a little, you can write down to put on the back of your finished sampler. It's got pages and pages of instructions, stitch diagrams. Here's the color. It's got several color pictures that you can see. It's got charts and all of these pages of diagrams. Don't let it scare you. Just take one band at a time, pull out the appropriate pages, and then all the information you need is there. It also came with the needles that I needed and linen. Let's see if I can hold this up. The linen and thread, the floss. I think it's the DMC is what I ordered. Well, that didn't work very well. It's so beautiful put together. I don't want to mess it up. There we go. So that's all together, the whole kit. Everything is there. Instructions, linen, floss, diagrams, stitch guides, everything in this beautiful box. So I did go ahead and get that. And I think that's it. I'm going to take a look. I know that I had a question, some questions I haven't gotten to. I do have them down, so I'll kind of keep putting them in as we go along. And I do have a question for you. I'm just checking my notes here. Would you like at some time me to do a little tour of my sewing room here? I had some questions about what is this in the back and what is that. And I thought, well, maybe sometime we'll do a little tour. So let me know if you would like to do that. I don't think I'll get in all the drawers and show you all that, but I'll just kind of give you a little guided tour. 'Cause I know you see this view, but I've got windows here and I've got stuff all around me you can't see. So if you would like to see that, let me know in the comments. And probably we'll come back 2 to 3 weeks. 2 weeks sometimes is a little short and I don't have as much done as I would like to show you, but it depends on what's going on. I know 2 weeks from now is the eclipse. 2 weeks from today, I think, is the eclipse. And my husband and I are going to travel. Where we live, it's going to be like 99.4%. But if we travel a few hours from here, we can see 100% totality. So we might be doing that, taking a trip to see the eclipse, because in 2017, it was in Nashville, which is only 40 minutes, 50 miles from us. And we weren't here. I was teaching on a quilting cruise in Alaska. So we didn't get to see it. So we really want to see it now. So we'll have to drive 2 or 3 or 4 hours, I think, to get in a good spot. But we're debating on where to go. It'll depend on the cloud cover. Anyway, 2 weeks from now is the eclipse, so it won't be 2 weeks. It'll probably be 3. And just depending on where we go for the eclipse, I might get to visit a cross-stitch shop. Excited. We'll see. So I think that's it for today. I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for all your lovely comments. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I always love seeing your comments. It warms my heart to know that you enjoy this, because I enjoy sharing it with you so much. I think there's just something about stitching. And I was thinking about that. I was watching Kim, the Contented Stitcher, and she was mentioning whips, and she likes to work on a lot of different things, and a few things she said in her last video, I thought, why am I waiting to start these things I've kitted up? I know for me, I don't want too many whips, but I also have all these beautiful things kitted, and I'm just going to start some of them. I just am, because it makes me happy. And that's where Marianne Kopp came in, and it's such a pleasure having this kitted and finally starting to bring her to life. I love that. So I appreciate what Kim said, because I think that's it. Do what you feel comfortable with as far as starts and how you work. And as I've said before, do what brings you joy. That's the most important thing. Use whatever linen you love, whatever floss you love, the charts you love, how you like stitching. We're all different. We're all going to have different ways we enjoy stitching, but do what brings you joy. And I was just sitting smiling yesterday that I another start, finally started this, and I was just grinning. It's like, I'm so happy to be starting this. So do what brings you joy. Until we meet next time, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful day.